So today we're going to be checking out these. I'm not really sure where to place these because these are pretty much, I guess these are still cheap goggles, but they are pretty much the highest range of cheap goggles that you can get. Currently they are $400 on Banggood. So that's still really expensive, but considering Fat Sharks are like, what, $600 before adding a receiver, I guess you can still consider these cheap goggles. That's really up to you though. So this review, I'm going to be basing my opinions coming from the Aomway Commander series. I've used these. These are pretty much the only goggles I've used for the last 2 years. And I was originally a huge fan of these coming from box goggles. Obviously, they are a big improvement. However, using these more and more, especially for racing, I've come to notice a lot of their pitfalls. The menu system in here is horrible. The DVR records poorly unless I'm using Clearview. There's not great IPD adjustment. They don't really fit my face that well. And they continually keep shutting on and off on me for random reasons. And I've tried different plugs, different goggles. I'm not really sure what the issue is, but there was a lot of downfalls with this. So it's why I was looking for a new goggle. And that's why I gave these Skyzones a shot. So for the goggles themselves, I'm not really going to go over too many of the specs. They're all listed on the website if you're interested in that. But basically, they have 3 screens in there, which are OLED versus the typical LED. They have a built-in diversity receiver. We have buttons on top to search, start the DVR, and change modes to the menu. And here's where we change our band, channel, and track if you want to. On the bottom, we have all of our ports. We have our headphone. We have our AV out, AV in, USB for firmware updates, HDMI in, and our SD card slot. Here's our 2 IPD adjustments, which are the typical range. Here's the tracker and the voltage input. And of course, ooh, look at that, Fat Shark. We got a power button. Pretty crazy technology, I know. And then up front, we have the pretty silly little front-facing camera, which is in this model. And for the foam in the box, they do give you a couple of different types, and I've gone with sort of this plush leather one. It seems to fit my face the best and be the most comfortable. In terms of the strap, we have pretty much a standard. I think this is a 1.5-inch strap. It works fine for me. They want you to put your battery here. However, I don't do that. I just use a little cable and put the battery in my pocket. So let's go ahead and plug the goggles in here. And nothing happens originally, which is really nice. And we can go ahead and hold that for about 2 seconds, and then they will turn on here. And I really can't see it that well. I'll try and zoom in on it. But here I'm changing through the channels and the bands. Really, that menu is really nice. It tells you your signal strength, your channel, your frequency, if you're recording or not, and you can see it goes away in about a second. And if you tap recording, it'll pop back up and show you the status. It won't actually stop it, so you have to press it and then press it again, which is quite nice. I know that view kind of sucks through the just zooming in on the lens there, but that's all I can do for now. And then one other cool little feature, as you can see up front, is that it has an LED bar. I actually went through the manual and saw this mentioned. So I followed the instructions and went through and chose this setup here. It's a gimmick, you know, it's pretty dumb. But I thought it was pretty funny, so I just leave it on. Now mentioning that camera once again, you actually can activate this. I think you press search twice. It's detailed in the menu. It'll actually pull up the camera as the main input then. It's quite funny. The resolution is extremely bad. And that wouldn't be that big of a problem, except the field of view is very small, and it's extremely fisheyed. So like if you turn, you get really disoriented and you can't walk with it. We were actually messing with this at Multi-GP Champs just as a joke when I was first testing these out. So the front camera is pretty much useless, and once again a gimmick, but it's kind of funny. Up top we have the fan and sort of this little Batman aluminum cage, and it automatically comes on. No need to plug a battery balance plug in, Fat Shark, and from my experience it defogs the screens pretty effectively. And now in all of the footage that I'm going to be showing you here, just go ahead and unplug these. For my antennas, I was just using an Immersion 8 dBi patch and a TBS Triumph V2 antenna here on a right angle adapter. So I'm just going to play some DVR in the top while I talk about the goggles. And now first off, for the overall color and image and just how the screens look. When I first put these on, I definitely did notice the OLED screens. Since I've been using the Aomway Commanders for so long, I kind of was a doubter of like higher resolution screens and OLED because there's only so much you can transmit in 700 TVL or whatever it is. But when I put these on, I definitely could notice just a sharper image, more contrast image, and just everything looked better overall, and I was very impressed. And it's definitely not going to show in the DVR. You kind of have to try them out for yourself. So if you know someone who has them, or the Fat Shark HDOs, or anything with an OLED screen, I'd highly encourage you trying them out first. And just a quick note, while at Multi-GP Championships, I let a few people who have HDOs try them on, and they said the screen quality was definitely very nice, very, very similar to the HDO, if not better. Now, in terms of range, once again, I was just using those two antennas, and here you can see some footage. I didn't really do long range with this. I flew extremely high in this one clip while I was in the Bahamas, so I was not in US airspace, and I made sure there was no aircraft around. I was probably about a mile away because as I flew so high, there was about 20-mile-an-hour wind, which pushed me very, very far. I ended up having to set the quad down and then go retrieve it because I didn't have enough battery to get back. But the quality on this, the reception was perfectly fine. Now that quad was transmitting at 500 milliwatts, so if I wanted a true test of the range of the internal modules, I guess it'd be better to do that at 25 milliwatts, but I wasn't trying to lose my quad in the ocean. I was filming for GoPro, so that's why. But I was definitely very happy with the internal receivers and had absolutely no problems with them, as well as when I was at the Multi-GP Championships, I was spectating a few people using these, and I had perfect video on their channel while there was 8 people racing. So in terms of using these for racing, I think they're absolutely fine. Now that brings us to one of the bad points about the goggles is that they do not include a module bay since they do have inbuilt receivers. This is good and bad. Good because the inbuilt is pretty darn good and I have no problems with it, and only for racing. I'm still going to use my Clearview ground station just because, but you could definitely use these. And it's also good because it keeps the cost down and it's just always there ready to go. Just screw on your antenna and that's nice. The bad side is you can't use a module to plug in, like if you wanted to use a Rapid Fire or a Clearview module or a TBS Fusion, you can't really plug those in. I have seen someone just post a conversion where they did put a module in here. I'm not sure if that's official or if they just hacked it in, cut some holes and soldered things. Either way, they're not intended to be used with a module, which is one of the very few things that keep me from saying this is one of the best goggles. I still think it is one of the best goggles, but to be for everyone, especially for racing, if it had a module bay, it would definitely take it up a notch. Other things I like about the goggles is the IPDs are pretty easy to change on these large sliders, and I didn't have them there tight enough that they don't jiggle. The IPD range isn't great. It's pretty much the same as all the other ones, so I need to have them all the way in. In terms of the SD card, it mounts down here. However, I found that the slot itself is pretty deep, so you have to push on it pretty hard to get it out. It's not nearly as easy as the Aomways, partially because they have this indentation, which makes the card easy to get out. But it is still miles better than the Fat Shark way of having it like between the nose here, which is very, very dumb. In terms of fitting my face, you can see they kind of peel away from the shell here, which is quite interesting. What I'm thinking is they actually had a bunch of these older shells from the O2 series, but everyone's complaining they weren't curved enough, so they made this sort of angled faceplate. At least that's what I think they've done. But it fits my face pretty well. The only point is like right here on the nose. It does put pressure on my nose sometimes, so I just have to make sure I orientate it in the right way. So I can't wear these for hours, but overall they're pretty darn comfortable. So all in all, I definitely enjoy these goggles. They have a really good picture, pretty good range, pretty good reception, and I just love the menu system that they have going on here. Now in terms of what do I recommend, if you are on an extreme budget, and you want something really cheap, I think something like maybe the EV800D or something, the $50 box goggles is probably where you're going to look at. And then a step up, the Commanders are about $130 I've seen them going on sale for. And pretty much from there to these, I wouldn't recommend too much more. It's probably just better to get the Commanders or save up for something like these at $400. And then obviously in the very high end, we have the HDO2s from Fat Shark and the Orca goggles. I've seen both of them and I'm not a huge fan. For Fat Shark, I mainly just am not a fan of the company. I don't like how they've taken so long to progress. I don't think it should take 7 years to add a power switch, as well as there's other features that I think are just blatantly left out, and I don't really agree with them as a company. You can have your own opinion on that, whatever you want. And then for the Orca, I'm not a huge fan of the way they look, and I know things are coming through with software updates, but I think it's in too early of a stage for me to really jump on, as well as both of those goggles are just so much more expensive, almost double the price of these goggles. I don't really see double the value. So that's pretty much going to do it for my review on these Skyzone goggles. Hopefully this video helps you make a decision in one way or another. There will be links in the description down below if you're interested in these. And I'd appreciate if you use them if you're going to buy them, as they are affiliate links and they will help support me if you choose to buy these. They don't cost you anything extra. And one thing I just want to mention quick is that the screens are 4:3 only. They do not do a 16:9 mode, and I've been using my Commanders in 16:9 mode for quite a while, pretty much 2 years now. And I've been racing with that with a 4.3 camera stretched to 16:9. I've just gotten used to it, and I thought it was better, but I'm not really sure anymore. It's probably better to fly 4.3, what it's meant to do. And now the only flying I've done on these so far is for freestyle because I've been on vacation and haven't been able to attend any races. But I pretty much gotten used to it right away. And I don't see it being an issue, as well as the field of view on these is a little bit larger. I think it's 37 degrees instead of 32 degrees on the other goggles, and it was not that hard to adjust to. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.